Noah Langley didn't believe in second chances. That as the CEO of a competitive tech firm in Boston, he'd built his reputation on precision, flawless strategies, ruthless execution, and results that left no room for emotion. Interviews were scheduled in 15-minute increments. Resumes were skimmed, not read. Weakness, in his eyes, was something to be weeded out, not nurtured. So when the HR team forwarded him a resume marked priority review, he nearly deleted it. What caught his eye, out of disbelief then interest, was the applicant's note, in bold: paralyzed from the waist down, remote work preferred. He scoffed. A paralyzed woman, applying for a high-stress operations role in a company known for its cutthroat pace. It felt almost naive. Her name was Elise Monroe, 33, solid academic background, years of experience, a short gap in employment, and glowing letters of recommendation. But still Noah stared at the medical note attached to her file. Spinal cord injury, wheelchair user. He clicked decline without a second thought. The office window caught a glint of late afternoon light. Noah leaned back, eyes narrowing. Compassion is for people who can afford it, he muttered under his breath. We don't run charities here. But that night, sleep wouldn't come. Noah lay beside his wife, Amanda, who'd recently returned from yet another checkup. The past year had been brutal on her body: dialysis treatments, the endless waiting for a donor, the way her laughter had dimmed. Then, a miracle. A donor kidney came through just in time. The name had been kept anonymous, but it had saved Amanda's life. He reached for her hand beneath the covers, letting out a long breath. At work the next morning, he overheard something in the hallway: HR discussing the applicant again. Elise's story had apparently circulated. The team was torn, some felt inspired, others hesitant. Noah didn't care, until a week later, a small envelope arrived at his office, marked confidential. Inside was a handwritten letter. No name, no return address. You don't know me. You probably never will. But I was the one who donated my kidney to your wife last year. I've seen how much she means to you. I've read the updates through the transplant center. I know she made it. That's enough for me. I wasn't looking for gratitude. I wasn't expecting anything. But I needed a job. I thought maybe fate would be kind enough to bring our paths together again. Clearly, I was wrong. Take care of her. That's all I ask. Noah stared at the page for a long time. His hands began to shake, and for the first time in years, Noah Langley, the man who never believed in second chances, wondered if he'd just thrown away the only one that truly mattered. Have you ever misjudged someone before knowing their full story? Leave a comment below. We'd love to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe if this story is already tugging at your heart. Noah reread the letter 3 times. His heart pounded in a rhythm unfamiliar to him, not like the adrenaline of boardroom victories or the stress of quarterly numbers. This was slower, heavier, like guilt waking up from a long nap. He sat frozen at his desk, the edges of the letter slightly crumpled in his grip. He hadn't told anyone at work about Amanda's donor. The transplant had been anonymous, as most were. The hospital gave them little information, just that the donor had been living, young, and had insisted on staying unnamed. Amanda had written a thank you letter. Of course, she cried as she sealed the envelope, not knowing who would read it. Now, maybe she did. Noah's mind raced. Could it be true? He buzzed Laura from HR. Pull that applicant's file for me. The one I declined last week, Elise Monroe. There was a pause on the line. You want to review her again? She asked, clearly surprised. Yes, Noah said curtly. And I want everything. Interview notes, medical disclosures, even the cover letter. When the file landed in his inbox, Noah read every word. Elise had been in a car accident 4 years ago, paralyzed from the waist down. She'd adapted, retrained, even volunteered with advocacy groups for the disabled. Her work history was solid. She'd climbed through mid-level roles in operations, with a reputation for streamlining chaos and mentoring junior staff. And then, a 3-month gap. Right before Amanda's transplant. Noah blinked. He checked the donor date again. It lined up. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. It was one thing to receive a miracle. It was another to realize you might have looked that miracle in the face and dismissed her because of a wheelchair. A knock broke his thoughts. It was Laura. I took the liberty of calling her. She's free for a Zoom call this afternoon. If you're serious. Noah hesitated, then nodded. Schedule it. Elise adjusted her camera nervously. She was seated in her home office, books neatly arranged behind her, a soft scarf wrapped around her shoulders. Her face was calm, kind, but her eyes were wary. "Mr. Langley," she said, her voice steady. "I was surprised to hear back." Noah cleared his throat. "Miss Monroe, I owe you an apology." She didn't smile, didn't soften, just nodded once. "For rejecting my application." He shook his head slowly. "For judging you before understanding you." There was silence. "I read your letter," he continued, "the one you sent anonymously." Elise blinked. He watched her shoulders stiffen, then relax in slow surrender. She didn't deny it. "I wasn't trying to guilt you," she said finally. "I just needed to say it." "I know," Noah said. "But you did more than donate a kidney. You reminded me of something I'd forgotten." She looked up. "What's that?" he exhaled. "That people are more than what's on paper. That sometimes the one we overlook is the one who already changed our lives." Another pause passed between them, this one softer, almost reverent. Then Elise said quietly, "I didn't expect anything back. I didn't want anything." Noah's voice cracked a little. "But I want to give you something back anyway." And for the first time in a long time, Noah meant every word. The job offer was sent that evening. Elise opened the email while stirring a pot of soup, the scent of rosemary and garlic warming her kitchen. Her hands froze on the spoon as she read the subject line. Offer of employment, Langley Dynamics. Her eyes scanned the message, mouth slightly open. Not only was the role reinstated, but elevated. Senior operations consultant, flexible hours, fully remote, with a tailored accessibility stipend. And in bold letters at the bottom, just 2 words, "If you're willing." Noah Langley. She lowered herself slowly into her chair, staring at the screen. 1,000 thoughts raced through her head, but one memory rose above the rest. Amanda, lying pale and trembling in a hospital bed, just days after surgery. Elise had passed by the room after her own procedure. She hadn't stopped, hadn't dared, but she remembered the look on the man's face sitting beside the woman's bed. Grief and hope twisted together like rope. Now, that man was giving her a second chance. Meanwhile, Noah sat in his office long after the staff had gone home, the lights outside casting long shadows across the floor. Amanda had texted earlier, "Good appointment today. Kidneys holding strong. Love you." He stared at the message. There was something he hadn't told her. He hadn't told her about Elise. Not yet. Part of him feared what she might say. Not because Amanda lacked kindness, quite the opposite, but because it would force him to face something uncomfortable. That Amanda's second chance had been paid for by someone he'd dismissed without blinking. A knock on the glass startled him. Laura leaned in. She accepted the offer. Noah nodded. "Good. She starts Monday." "Good," he repeated, though the word felt too small for what it meant. Monday arrived. Elise logged in for her first team meeting, her camera off, as agreed. It wasn't shame, it was preference. She wanted her skills to speak first, not her chair, not her story. And they did. In 20 minutes, she'd streamlined an onboarding workflow the team had struggled with for months. By the end of the hour, even the most skeptical engineers were dropping questions into her chat, like kids wanting help with homework. Noah watched quietly from a second window. She didn't try to impress, she just solved things with calm, methodical ease. Later that day, he emailed her directly. "Noah, just wanted to say thank you. Today was strong. She replied within minutes. "Elise, thank you for the opportunity. That's all I ever wanted." He stared at that line for a while. There was something humbling about it. He realized something then. Elise wasn't trying to redeem herself. She already had. It was he who was learning what redemption felt like. Noah hadn't realized how much. Elise had already become part of the company until he heard her name in casual hallway chatter. Ask Elise. She cleaned that up in an hour. Elise caught the glitch in the beta report. Saved us 2 days. It was strange how someone who never set foot in the building was slowly becoming its backbone. By the end of her second week, she'd restructured the product launch timeline and helped resolve a major client conflict with grace, clarity, and not a hint of ego. Noah watched quietly, but what unsettled him wasn't just her competence, it was how icily she gave. No resentment, no edge, no expectation of recognition, and, still, he hadn't told Amanda. Every time he looked at his wife, healthy and laughing again, the weight of Elise's silence pressed heavier on his chest. Amanda deserved to know, but he kept putting it off. Maybe he didn't know how to explain that the woman who'd saved her life had once been deemed unfit by his own prejudice, and maybe, deep down, he was afraid of what Amanda would say. It was during a routine weekly sync that Noah and Elise spoke on video for the first time. She clicked on her camera, surprising him. There she was, warm lighting, navy blouse, dark curls pulled back simply. The wheelchair was visible now, but it no longer defined the frame. She smiled slightly. Thought I'd stop hiding. Noah nodded, adjusting in his seat. You were never hiding. Her brow lifted. Weren't we both? He swallowed. She continued. I don't blame you for the first rejection. You should, he said softly. I could, she allowed. But what would be the point? I've seen worse than corporate oversight. A lot worse. He looked at her, really looked, this time not as an applicant or employee, but as a woman who had risked her health, her body, for someone she didn't even know. And now here she was, building again from scratch, as if nothing was owed her. Elise, he said slowly, you could have told me who you were the moment I called. Why didn't you? Her smile faded a little. Because then it would have been about the kidney, about pity or guilt. I didn't want that. I wanted to prove I could stand on my own, figuratively at least. He let out a breath. And you have. She tilted her head. Then maybe now's the right time. For what? To meet her, Elise said. Your wife. The words hit like a slow wave. He hadn't expected her to offer. I'd like that, he said, barely above a whisper. There was a beat of silence. Then Elise added, but I need you to be honest with her. Not for me, for you. He nodded, the truth pressing up behind his ribs. Because Elise hadn't just given Amanda a new life. She'd given him a second chance to be the kind of man Amanda believed he already was. The invitation came in the form of a simple text. Noah, Amanda would love to meet you. Saturday night, our place, just the three of us. Elise stared at her phone for a long time, for months. She had imagined this meeting, played it out in her head during sleepless nights and long therapy sessions. But now that it was real, she felt small. Not scared exactly, just aware of the gravity. She wasn't just the donor anymore. She was a stranger being welcomed into a home she had quietly saved. She typed her reply. Elise, I'd be honored. Saturday evening arrived like a heartbeat. Noah stood in the kitchen, nervously rearranging the silverware. Amanda leaned against the counter, watching him with amused eyes. You're acting like the Queen of England is coming over. He didn't look up. Maybe she is. Amanda laughed, but it faded when she saw his face. Noah, what is this really about? He hesitated, then took her hands in his. There's something I haven't told you. About your donor. Her breath caught. He walked her to the couch, sat beside her, and spoke softly, fully, about the resume, the rejection, the letter, about Elise, about the realization that had followed. Amanda didn't interrupt. Her hand never left his. When he finished, she whispered, Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I was ashamed, he said. I looked her in the face and I still said no. After everything she gave you. Amanda shook her head. Noah, you said yes in the end. That's what matters. He looked down, but Amanda lifted his chin. She gave me life. Maybe now we give her something back. The doorbell rang. Elise sat quietly at the dinner table, her fingers resting on the base of a glass of water. She wore a soft beige blouse, her hair tied back. Amanda watched her with open, tearful eyes. You look so much like I imagined, Amanda said gently. Elise smiled. You look stronger than I hoped. They both laughed lightly, like old friends just now meeting. Dinner passed in stories and memories, never forced, always flowing. Elise didn't speak of pain or sacrifice. Amanda didn't speak of gratitude in the grand sense. They talked about favorite books, about how Amanda missed running but found peace in gardening, about how Elise taught herself to code during recovery. Noah mostly listened, watched, felt something shift. By the end of the night, Amanda reached across the table and took Elise's hand. I want you in our lives, she said. Not as a reminder of the past, but as part of our future. Elise blinked hard, the emotion catching in her throat. Then she nodded. I'd like that. And just like that, a new chapter quietly began around a dinner table, with three people who never should have crossed paths, but now couldn't imagine their lives without one another. Have you ever had someone enter your life at exactly the right moment? Tell us in the comments below. Your story might just inspire someone else. And if this journey has touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe. The next chapter is coming soon. The Monday after the dinner, Elise logged in as usual, but something felt different. She wasn't just working for a company anymore. She was contributing to a place that had a face, a heart, a story. Amanda's laughter still echoed in her mind from Saturday night, and Noah's silence, the kind that said more than words, remained with her. Not everyone got closure. Not everyone got to heal the wound and keep the scar as proof. Now she did. Inside Langley Dynamics, word of Elise's impact had begun to spread beyond the operations floor. She'd quietly solved the years-old supply chain inefficiency that had saved the company over $200,000. She'd organized a knowledge base for remote workers, and when a junior associate hit a breaking point during a difficult sprint, Elise was the one who stayed online late, guiding her through the mess with patience and calm. People were noticing. Even HR noticed. Laura from HR pinged Noah. "Laura, is Elise some kind of miracle worker? People are asking why she's not on leadership calls." "Noah, she will be." It was a short reply, but it wasn't just a decision, it was a shift. One that said, "We see you, not because of what you've been through, but because of what you bring." Later that week, Elise received an email titled, "Leadership Inclusion, Consideration, Preliminary Invite." It was formal but warm. A seat at the table, even if just to listen at first. She stared at it for a long while, her hand hovering over the trackpad. That it felt too soon. And yet, maybe it wasn't. Maybe her presence had earned its place. She clicked accept. Noah, for his part, had begun to change in quieter ways. At meetings, he started listening, longer before speaking. When reviewing resumes, he found himself asking new questions, not just about gaps and titles, but about resilience. He even approved a budget expansion for adaptive tech and remote support programs across departments. Amanda noticed. "Of course, you're different lately," she said one night as they walked through the park. Her arm looped through his. "Different? How?" he asked, though he already knew. "Softer," she said, "in a good way." He didn't respond right away. Then he said, "I think I'm just finally learning what strength really looks like." She stopped walking, turned to him. "And what does it look like?" He looked at her, then whispered, "It looks like both of you." Elise, now slowly stepping into leadership, never once brought up her kidney donation again. She didn't need to. The truth had already done its quiet work. Now, her daily contributions did the rest. She wasn't just the woman who gave life, she was the woman rebuilding her own. One spreadsheet, one meeting, one act of grace at a time. It was Amanda's idea. "You should speak," she told Elise, over coffee one weekend. "There's that Women in Tech conference next month. They're looking for stories. Not just the usual career ladders, but the hard ones. The stories with scars." Elise stirred her latte, unsure. "Why me?" Amanda tilted her head gently. "Because people listen when you speak. And because someone out there is sitting in a chair like yours, thinking the door is closed. You might be the reason they try to knock." Elise didn't answer right away, kept her story quiet for a reason. Not out of shame, but because she didn't want pity to open doors. She wanted her skills to do that. But Amanda was right. Maybe now, it wasn't about doors anymore. Maybe it was about windows. Letting others see in. Noah was hesitant when Elise brought it up during their weekly call. "A conference?" he asked. "Public speaking?" She nodded. "Only if you're okay with it. I wouldn't name the company. Just talk about my journey. The accident, the recovery, the job hunt." Her voice trailed off. His eyes met hers on the screen. "And the rejection," she hesitated. Then, "Yes, but also the redemption." He leaned back slowly. Part of him felt exposed. But the larger part, the part that had been reshaped by the months since, understood what was being asked of him. Not permission, just support. He nodded. "Tell the truth. Tell it in full. You've earned that." Elise smiled. "Thank you." The conference room was packed. Elise wheeled onto the stage under a soft blue spotlight. She wore a navy blazer over a cream blouse, her hands calm as she adjusted the mic. The room fell silent, not out of politeness, but anticipation. She spoke, gently, clearly, not dramatic, not over-rehearsed. She told them about the crash, the years of rehab, the days she thought she'd never work again, not because of her abilities, but because of how the world saw them. Then she told them about the job. About the rejection, and the letter she'd written, not to get attention, but to let go. "Sometimes," she said, voice steady, "you don't send a message to get a response. You send it because your heart needs to speak, even if no one's listening. There were tears in the crowd now. Then she told them about the second email, the job offer, the quiet growth, and the dinner that changed everything. She never named names, but those who needed to hear the story did. When she finished, the standing ovation took her breath away. Backstage, Elise sat alone for a few minutes. Then her phone buzzed. Noah, watched the live stream. You were powerful. Proud to know you. She stared at the message, her throat tightening. Then came another. Amanda, I cried. Thank you for sharing what I could never put into words. Your family, always. Elise looked out through the curtain. The crowd was still buzzing, and for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like someone who survived. She felt like someone who belonged. The days after the conference moved differently. Emails poured in, messages from strangers, from young professionals in wheelchairs, from mothers trying to return to work after trauma, from former colleagues who had never known the full story. Some were short, just a thank you. Others were long, winding confessions of people holding their breath in lives they thought no one could understand. Elise read each one. She answered as many as she could. She didn't feel famous. She didn't want to be. But something had shifted. People saw her not just as capable, but as courageous. The irony was, she hadn't felt brave when she wrote that letter to Noah. She had felt defeated, invisible, desperate to believe that kindness could still matter. And now, somehow, it had become the very thing that lifted her back into the light. At Langley Dynamics, the ripple effect was real. HR began re-examining outdated policies around accessibility. A mentorship program for disabled interns was quietly greenlit. Elise was asked to lead it. Noah watched it unfold with a strange mix of pride and regret. He'd never said the words, not really, not the way she deserved to hear them. So that afternoon, he scheduled a one-on-one call. No agenda, just a subject, line, time. I said it. Elise joined the call. Her face was calm as always, but her eyes carried that same depth, the one that had unnerved him in the beginning. He cleared his throat. I've been thinking a lot about the first time I saw your resume. She gave a small nod. I remember. I didn't see you, he admitted. I saw a risk. I saw an excuse to say no. And I was wrong. Silence. I've apologized for the decision, he continued, but not for the way I saw you. That took longer to unlearn. She blinked, but didn't look away. I don't need the apology, she said. I do, he replied, because if I can't own what I got wrong, then I don't deserve the lessons I've learned since. A long pause. Then her voice softened. You've changed, Noah. Because of you, he said. You reminded me of the kind of leader I thought I was, and the kind of man Amanda already believed I could be. Her eyes shimmered. She looked down for a moment, then back up. I forgave you a long time ago, she whispered. But I'm glad you forgave yourself, too. That evening, Elise wheeled into her tiny living room, a cup of tea in her hands. The late autumn light slid in through the windows, soft and amber. She pulled up an old photo taken in the hospital, days after the donation, her body frail, her smile tight, her eyes distant. And then she opened her front-facing camera and took a new photo. Her smile now was real, her eyes clearer. She posted it to her private blog with a short caption. Then, I gave life to someone else. Now, I've learned how to give it back to myself. She hit publish. And let the past go. Winter came slowly to Boston that year, first in frost-laced windows, then in early sunsets. But inside Langley Dynamics, something new was blooming. At the quarterly board meeting, Elise sat at the table, not virtually, not as an outsider dialing in, but in person. It had taken weeks of quiet planning. Amanda had insisted on helping researching accessible transport, assisting Elise in finding a driver who understood her comfort and limits. It wasn't about proving anything. It was just about being present. And Noah, he made sure the boardroom had a new table, one with adjustable seating, not as a favor, but as a correction. Elise rolled in that morning wearing a soft charcoal suit, a pearl pin on her lapel. Around the table, the executives straightened up, some unsure of how to react. But it didn't take long for the tension to dissolve, because Elise didn't try to impress. She just listened, spoke, when she had something to add, and when the company's chief innovation officer proposed an ambitious new hiring model. She leaned forward, hands folded, and said calmly, "We can do that, but let's make sure the model includes people like Min, not just on paper, but in process." Noah watched as the others nodded. She had changed the temperature of the room, not with volume, with presence. After the meeting, Noah walked with her to the elevator. For once, he didn't have anything businesslike to say. No stats, no follow-ups. "I'm proud of you," he said simply. She gave him a long look. "You don't have to say that." "I know," he said, "but I want to." Then he hesitated. "I told Amanda everything," he added. "Every detail. Even the rejection. You know what she said?" Elise shook her head. "She said you were exactly what our family needed before we even knew it." Her eyes softened. "I feel the same way," she said, "about both of you." That night, Amanda lit a single candle in the dining room and called Elise. "I've been thinking," she said. "Thanksgiving's coming, and this year, I want you here." Elise chuckled. "That might get you in trouble with your extended family." "They'll deal with it," Amanda replied. "You're part of this now. You saved me, Elise. But more than that, you made us all better." For the first time in years, Elise felt something deeper than gratitude. She felt rooted. Thanksgiving morning dawned crisp and bright. The Langley home smelled of cinnamon, roasted sweet potatoes, and something deeper belonging. Amanda stood at the stove, humming softly. Noah was setting the table, more careful than usual. Every plate, every napkin, felt like a small gesture of thanks, and when the doorbell rang, Amanda wiped her hands on a towel and smiled knowingly. Elise entered with a homemade pie balanced on her lap. "Pumpkin," she announced, "and gluten-free, don't judge me." Amanda laughed. "You've officially outdone half my family." Noah appeared at the hallway entrance. His smile was real now, not the stiff, practiced one he wore at board meetings. "You're early, like to see the chaos before it gets polished," Elise said with a grin. They moved as if they'd done this for years. Amanda passed Elise a mug of cider. Noah helped move chairs to make more room at the table. There were no grand speeches, no dramatics, just laughter, quiet glances that said, "We made it here, together." As dinner settled into stories and clinking silverware, Amanda raised a toast. "Before dessert," she said, looking around the table, "I want to say one thing." Noah glanced over, curious. Elise sat still, a touch of anticipation in her posture. Amanda continued, "This year, I've had a second chance at life. But the truth is, so has my husband, so has this home. And it's all because someone chose to give not just once, but again and again." She looked at Elise. "You didn't just save my body. You healed my family. You gave me a husband who now listens more than he talks. You gave him a mirror, and you gave us you." Elise's hand trembled on her glass, but she smiled, soft, full, without defense. "Thank you," she said. "But I didn't come to heal anyone. I just came hoping someone would see me." Amanda reached for her hand. "And now we do." Later that evening, after the guests had gone and the house was quiet again, Noah and Amanda stood at the window, watching Elise's car pull away. "She's family," Amanda said simply. "She is," Noah echoed, but something deeper stirred inside him, something he hadn't felt since before Amanda's illness. A kind of peace that came not from success, but from surrender, from knowing he'd been wrong, but had lived long enough to make it right. That night, Elise sat at her own kitchen table, scrolling through her inbox. A message popped up from a young woman. "I saw your talk last month. I'm in a chair too. I never thought I could work in tech, but I applied to my first role today. Just wanted you to know." Elise smiled. She didn't reply right away. She just leaned back, closed her eyes, and let the silence wrap around her like a warm quilt. She had been the miracle once. Now, she was passing it on. If this story moved you, let us know in the comments. Have you ever been changed by someone you almost overlooked? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that remind us how healing can begin in the most unexpected places.